3.1b is on solving inequalities for a specific variable. So if you recall, we've already done this with equations, so it'll be the same type of thing. It'll just have an inequality sign instead of an equal sign. So the first thing we always have to do is figure out what that indicated variable is. So the process for rearranging equalities, we are still using inverse operations to isolate the given variable. So keep in mind, this is the exact same thing we have been doing all unit. Okay, it's not anything new, it just looks a little bit different. So number 1, solve for r. Well, c is less than 2 times pi times r. r is what we want to solve for. Well, we are multiplying, right? All this is multiplying. 2 times pi times r. The inverse of multiplication is division, so let's go ahead and divide. Well, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, and I'm actually going to divide by pi on both sides, okay? Since both of them are dividing, I can just take care of all this in one step. Well, c divided by 2 times pi, I can't simplify that at all, so I just leave it. I bring down my less than sign because we didn't multiply or divide by a negative, so it stays a less than sign. And then my 2 is divided out, my pi is divided or simplified out, so all I'm left with is my r. c divided by 2 times pi is less than r, which can also be written as r is greater than c divided by 2 pi. These are the same answer, they're just written in a little different way. And that's all we do. Number 2, solve for h. Okay, again, always figure out, circle, underline, color over, whatever you need. Always figure out what letter you're trying to solve for. A is greater than half times b times h. Well, I'm going to get rid of this half first. So I could multiply a half by 2. I could multiply this half by 2, and then that would equal 1. Half times 2 is 1. So that's what I'm going to do on both sides. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So we end up with 2a is greater than, well, half times 2, again, that's just 1, so that's gone. But we still have our b, and we still have our h. Well, now we have b times h. The inverse of multiplying by b is dividing by b. 2a divided by b, we can't simplify that at all. So 2a divided by b is greater than h, and that is our answer. And again, if you wanted to, you could write that as h is less than 2a divided by b. Both mean the same thing. Let's look at a couple more. Now, it'll be a good time to pause and see if you can solve this for yourself. So we have solve for w. Here's our w. Well, a is greater than L times w. Well, we're multiplying. I'm going to rewrite this. We're multiplying. The inverse of multiplying is just division. So divide both sides by L. A divided by L, we can't simplify that at all. Our L's simplify out, so we're left with w. A divided by L is greater than w. Couple more. Number 4, again, a good idea to pause, see if you can figure this out for yourself. We want to solve for h. We want to solve for h. So we have v is less than or equal to 1/3 times b times h. Well, what do we have to multiply 1/3 by in order to make it 1? We'd have to multiply it by 3. So I'm going to multiply 3 on both sides. 3v is less than or equal to, this just becomes 1. So we still have b times h. Well, the opposite of multiplying by b is dividing by b. 3v divided by b is less than or equal to h. And again, anytime you want to flip them, you can. We could write this as h is greater than or equal to 3v divided by b. Okay, those are the same thing. So again, we're just using those inverse operations. Nothing's changed. We just have more variables, and we have our inequality sign. Okay, 2 more we're going to look at here. Again, really good idea to pause and see if you can figure this out for yourself, and then check your work against mine. We have negative 4x plus 2y is greater than or equal to 16, and we want to solve for y. We want to solve for y. So I'm going to start by moving this negative 4x. The inverse of subtracting 4x is adding 4x. So this eliminates to 0, and we are left with 2y is greater than or equal to 16 plus 4x. Now we can't combine 16 plus 4x, So that just gets to say as 16 plus 4x or 4x plus 16. You can write it in either order. Well, now we have 2 times y. Well, the inverse of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. And remember, I need to divide every single term in the problem by 2. 2 divided by 2 just leaves me with 1y. 4 divided by 2 leaves me with 2x. And 16 divided by 2 simplifies to 8. Y is greater than or equal to 2x plus 8. That is our answer. Okay, since y is isolated, that's how we know we're done. Now we're going to look at this problem again, but we are going to solve for x instead. So let's see how it changes when we try and solve for x. Well, I'm going to start off and I'm going to move my 2y this time. Subtract my 2y. So 2y minus 2y eliminates to 0. So we end up with negative 4x is greater than or equal to, well, 16 and negative 2y, we can't combine them at all. So we just have to leave them as is. So we have negative 4x is greater than or equal to negative 2y plus 16. Well, the opposite of multiplying by negative 4x is dividing by negative 4. Right, so I'm going to divide every single term by negative 4. This just simplifies to 1. Since we divided by a negative, our sign's going to flip. Well, negative 2 divided by negative 4 becomes a positive half or 0.5, however you want to write it. And then positive 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. X is isolated, so our answer is x is less than or equal to 1/2 y minus 4. So again, these problems look a little bit different because they have a lot of variables, but all it boils down to is still using those inverse operations. Use those inverse operations and solve for whatever variable that they tell you to.